Hello, how's everyone doing today? So, today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is pretty commonly known within the occult, and that is the topic of the mushroom within the occult, more specifically within festivities within the occult. For example, here it says, the mythology of the plant, which has been known for thousands of years in the old world, all right, and it also provided the New Testament, the people that wrote the New Testament, in the way in which they encoded it, okay, with their quote unquote cover, right, and it's saying it here, it has mushroom stories are all scattered throughout the New Testament. Right? I'm sorry, throughout the Old Testament. Okay, and I'm sure they're probably. I'm just gonna go off a whim here and say they're probably in the New Testament too, but for now we'll just stick to this and say it's only in the Old Testament. So it goes on to kind of say that the scene, right? The doctrines and names and expressions, right, were actually concealed within the second Moses, right? And it's saying here that the successor in the office of Joshua, Greek iesus, Jesus, right? iesus, right? Greek, iesus, Jesus, that's also Jupiter Zeus, Jesus, Jupiter, Jesus, right? Thus was born, right? The New Testament. So, essentially, the point is just through clever wordplay within the scriptures, they were able to encode the secret doctrine within their text. To go on, it goes on to quote a little bit about Pliny, in which the idea that shekels and mushrooms were somehow connected, right? That he knew for beyond a shadow of doubt that biting a truffle came to have denarius inside of it, which bent his teeth. It said to bend his teeth. So it has something to do with biting in the mushroom, and also some reason. If I'm not mistaken, I might be wrong, but also like some type of monetization and lump of earthly substance balled together, right? As a Latinized version of the shekel in the fish's mouth, right? So it's a Latinized version of yet another tale that we have taken place. On this, it goes on to say one of the ways the mandrake is identified, and antiamon, meaning heavenly shade. Okay, and they're saying that this was, according to the Greeks, giants, right? And it means the pursuance of the imaginary of the giant, right? Holding the ark of heaven. Okay? And this is what it's saying. This is also symbolic of in this context, providing a canopy like sunshade. Also representing the manner of its rapid growth from the womb, right? From the in the stem of the stirred individual, right? Of the male, okay. And this goes on to say the old Sumerian plant name ushus te gila, right? Meaning boat gourd mushroom. And the reference of to the bolt, I thought this was some reason this part of the paragraph actually stood out, and it occasioned by it's actually like a primitive key. Okay, so think about it. So the mushroom's actually symbolic of a primitive key. So now, if you think about that, how often do you see the symbology of a key, like within any text or anything? So you can kind of go off that, and why is this linked to the mushroom, and where does the wordplay kind of come into play? Is kind of like where I would begin to kind of start asking, try to start taking down various roads within this study. It goes on to involve to say that the key of this planet is a way to the underworld. The quote unquote Peter as against the gate of Hades, right? And this is actually interesting because it goes on to say, this is Matthew, Revelation 1, 18, right? And he goes on to talk about the mandrake, NMS Taragar, demon or fate plant of the field. So it's interesting that the Sumerians, from which the Greeks mandragoras, right, came from this NMS Taragar, and like once again, it actually translates demon or fate plant of the field. Okay, so that's an interesting translation. So maybe somebody like maybe had a bad trip, huh? And I was like, so this is the demon plant of the field, right? Had a bad trip, can't have that no more, so we're naming this thing the demon plant of the field forever on end, right? So that's kind of stinks, you know, like one person kind of had a bad thing going and kind of named it the demon plant, it seems. And one person had maybe had a good ordeal, and they named it the knob plant, you know, so I don't know. It goes on to say that this is also linked, of course, to fertility deities. And this is where actually the study where we get our modern day medicine, right? A lot of our healing practitioners, right? Degrees of the spirits of light and darkness, right? See, these plants were endowed with the power to heal or kill. Okay, so you have plants in which were they had the ability to take or give life, right? And so this is actually interesting because if you actually have the caduceus, and it's actually interesting because that's actually what the caduceus does, is that it takes and gives life. Actually, because it is actually taking prana or chi from your nervous system and soaking it up, right? And once your nervous system soaks up so much of this pranic energy within your nervous system, and then it's filled up through your entire being. It is your essence. So it's interesting how this is you can kind of actually link this to the idea of gaining enlightenment. So it goes on to say, in the Old Testament, it mentions here Jotham in the book of Judges, right? there's an overt piece of vegetarian mythology, and it goes on to say that the trees of the forest ask representatives of each species to act as their king, right? The olive, fig, and vine, right? And this is in Judges 9:7 through, it seems, Judges 9:7. It begins. And this is a parable, and it goes on to explain uh, I don't know. What do you think of the parable? I've actually never heard of the parable of the Book of Judges of the olive, the fig, the vine, giving the fruits to men, and desperation the trees as to be a mushroom. Okay, so I kind of took this parable, right, and just kind of like I had to take it in. So I sorry for the pause. So it seems to me it's like essentially so much has been given to humankind. So the force in which has been giving sustenance to humankind has now ran out of its sustenance. Okay, so it's not asking for more divine chi. That's what it seems like the parable is about, and because now the humans aren't actually capable, it seems, of actually, for the most part, giving chi to other life forms. They haven't been able to focus this life force for the most part. Okay, so this is a whole lot of mysticism within this text. A whole lot of mysticism and a whole lot of knowledge based on what seems to be also a historical Christ in some way. In which case, I personally do not argue over no more. I just kind of read everything and kind of take it into account how it is that I apply it to my own will. Okay? And so that brings me kind of the meaning of will, right? And I came across text means that like to triumph through force, right? I came across this to triumph through force, but is it to triumph through will? A more accurate statement than triumphing through force? Because is it force will? Because a lot of people will often take force as to mean actually something that is actually a physical movement of the body, but in the context that this is given, I think you should take it as in the context, obviously, of a spiritual force, right? Obviously, right. And so, speaking of force, we have the Ace of Swords, right? Speaking of force, right? The Ace of Swords is a card about force, not in its entirety, but it is definitely a card that is about force because in your hand you have control of of your kundalini, right? Of your kundalini, of your force, of your divine nature that is within you, and you're able to hold and wield this and to manifest change effectively onto the earth, obviously, because we're on earth. So it could possibly mean manifesting avatisms on other planets. Possibly, I guess you can eventually take it into that realm. Possibly, I've never even thought about that until just this very second. But this is definitely a card about growth through your own will, is what this card means. For certain. I mean, there's really not even too much debating it. There's nice symbolism also here, and it actually means on this deck, right? On the Thoth deck, it actually says Thelema on the sword. Right here on the Ace of Swords. So if you look right there, you can actually see where it says Thelema. So this means will, right? Will, right? It means making change occur in reality through will, is what this card means. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. I have a very great presentation underway, actually. I'm going to be giving some great insight. I'm actually probably going to be touching more on this subject that I read from on the phone, and actually be delving into that topic. And I'm actually going to be giving better insight and better details in that presentation. So be sure to subscribe, like, and share, and scope out the information for yourself. Don't take it just from me or anybody else. Go and look into the information in which I have divulged to you. And thank you so much. Have a great day.